Hey there guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel Gururo with a new video titled Cost of Living in Australia for Indian Students in Rupees. In this video we will discuss about general introduction, search for accommodation, utilities, leisure activities, traveling expenses, insurances, cost of living in Australia in comparison to India and other countries, the total cost of living in Australia for 2 years. Let's get to the introduction first. According to the Board of Immigration report, nearly 1 lakh students move abroad from India to pursue higher education. Students move to various countries worldwide to pursue their under or post graduation in multiple fields. Australia is one such country where thousands of Indian students move for higher education, and when it comes to living abroad, specifically in Australia, it is pretty expensive. So let us find through this video the cost of living in Australia and how one can minimize its expenses. Finding accommodation. It would be best if you started doing a few more things to prepare for your time in Australia now that you have chosen where you want to study. Making sure you have a place to reside is among the most crucial things you must take care of. We will look at some of the lodging alternatives you will have and how to start looking. Some believe they may easily immigrate to the nation and locate a place to call home, because you would need to remain in a hotel or hostel for a long time. This might grow very expensive. Even though there is a weekly fee, if you can't find a place to live in a reasonable period, it might build up quickly. It is far better to ensure that you have a temporary arrangement or a rental setup before you arrive in Australia. In light of this, the institution where you are enrolled might provide long or short-term on-campus housing for its international students. Accommodation is offered by many colleges, particularly for undergraduates who are studying abroad. The university may have choices accessible for you to consider even if you are an international student pursuing postgraduate study. In either case, you should always consult the institution before looking into other possibilities. Even if they don't provide on-campus accommodation, they might have a list of alternatives for you to consider that you won't find anywhere else. Make a list of the features you desire from your apartment before you log in shopping for housing. Suppose you don't establish these limitations before you start looking for a rental. In that case, you could end up setting yourself up for disappointment because you can't afford that apartment you want, or it's too distant from the university you have attending. Here is a quick overview of some factors you should consider when looking at rentals. Cost. The price of your rental will vary depending on its category, location, city, state, and even street, and facilities offered. Determine what you want before you even start looking. The monthly spending limit you are willing to set, including any additional expenses. There is a significant price difference between a one-bedroom apartment with no facilities for $400 and one for $525 that includes heat, internet, water, sewer, and trash. You must consider the price in the context of all other expenses you make, even if it appears reasonable. To find rentals that fall within the range, choose a lower restriction, an ideal and an upper limit for yourself. Location. How near or far are the rentals from your study? You should include transportation charges in your estimates if the distance is too great. Your commute can become more stressful as a result. The rental is better for you the closer it is. To your university. You should also check if other crucial locations are nearby, such as a grocery shop or a doctor's office. It's a good idea to think about places close by for biking or walking, especially if you won't have a car while visiting Australia. Give yourself a range to attempt to keep inside when looking for an apartment. If you can, give yourself a minimum, ideal, and maximum limit, just like with cost, so that you can communicate that to persons you are speaking to about apartments. Furniture. As an international student, you should seriously consider this. The rental home you are considering, is it furnished? Even though furnished apartments can cost more each month, you save money on the furnishings you would otherwise need to buy. You won't need to be concerned with selling or donating the furnishings when you move out. It's up to you whether you want it furnished or unfurnished. Of course, you may be able to find inexpensive, furnishings. Well, before moving ahead, I would like to let you know that Gururo has tied up with top international universities and offers all courses in online, blended or on-campus mode in countries like USA, UK, Canada, Ireland, Germany and Australia. Utilities. It would be best if you considered the additional living expenditures you will incur while moving in Australia in addition to rent. Include the following in your budget, from paying bills to buying groceries. Groceries or eating out $140 to $280 weekly. Gas or electricity $10 to $20 weekly. Public transport $30 to $60 weekly. Phone or internet $15 to $30 weekly. Other activities $80 to $150 weekly. Leisure activities. Even though your primary purpose for coming to Australia is to study, you must ensure that you take advantage of all the great activities you can do in your spare time. Australian students who have studied there advise you to leave campus and take advantage of all the nation offers. With culturally diverse cities and incredible natural beauties unique to Australia, are you thinking about venturing outside your comfort zone and visiting Australia? Some of the things you should think about are surfing, hiking, biking or cycling, fishing, mountain climbing, rock climbing. Thanks to the distinctive landscape, you may also take advantage of some highly spectacular natural beauties. There are many beaches and mountains, as you might think, but Australia also has a lot of exciting places you may visit. Here are a few more well-liked tourist attractions for visitors and international students. The Gold Coast. The beaches on the Gold Coast are one area to visit if you are a student in Queensland. Over 35 miles of Queensland coastline are comprised of 21 beaches. Some beaches have incredible waves for learning to surf on, while others are perfect for sunbathing. If you enjoy the beach, you will enjoy visiting the Gold Coast no matter which beach you choose. The Victorian Alps. An outdoor person's paradise is the Victorian Alps. Do you enjoy biking or hiking? Fishing? What about it? It is possible here. The Victorian Alps are also a fantastic area to ski in the winter. If you spend a weekend in the mountains, there are several locations to stay nearby that are only a short drive from Melbourne. The Great Barrier Reef. This is probably the one thing every traveler will advise you to see before leaving Australia. The Great Barrier Reef is the most extensive coral reef on the entire planet and a widely popular tourist destination. In the Great Barrier Reef, practically any water activity is possible. So you may go fishing, surfing, snorkeling or scrubs diving here. You should also bring your camera because it is breathtaking lovely. Traveling in Australia. Public transportation systems in many Australian cities are dependable and effective. Australia's population and economy are heavily dependent on its extensive road system. With savings for car users and other types of travelers, well-connected bus services are available in Canberra, Sydney, Darwin, Brisbane, Adelaide, Melbourne, Perth and Hobart, such as students or pensioners. The information about these cities, bus routes and associated fares is: Canberra. Some passengers qualify for free travel with the MyWay adult card and discounts are available. Cash price for a single journey at the peak level $4.9 Australian dollars. Sydney. Opal card holders are eligible for discounts. It can be used on ferries, trains, light rail and buses in Sydney and New South Wales. Opal card for adults. Australian dollars 3.54 to 8.69 for a single train ticket. Bus fare for one trip 2.2 to 4.71 Australian dollars. Price for a single ferry 6.01 to 7.5 Australian dollars. Cost of flight rail 2.20 to 3.66 Australian dollars. Cash value: train fare for one Australian dollars 4.4 to 10.6. Bus fare for one 2.80 to 5.80. Price for a single ferry 7.4 to 9.2 and 2.8 to 4.4 Australian dollars for a light rail pass. Darwin and other parts of Northern Territory, holder of particular concession cards are entitled to reduced fares. Veterans, seniors, pensioners, students. There are also flexi trip and weekly tap and ride cards available. Cost in cash. A single ticket for unrestricted bus travel cost 3 Australian dollars, and Australian dollar 7 will get you on all-day bus pass. Adelaide, seniors, students, pensioners and travelers with visual impairments also receive discounts. Under 5S travel for free. Standard Metro card trip to a single peak 3.7 Australian dollars. One-way off-peak fare 2.03 Australian dollars. Cash value Australian dollars 5.5 for a single journey on the peak metro. Metro one-way off-peak ticket 3.6 Australian dollars. Hobart, students receive concessions under 5S travel for free. Green card for adults. One-way 2.72 to 5.6 Australian dollars. Cash value one-way flight 3.4 to 7 Australian dollars. Melbourne, students receive concessions. My card 28 to 365 day pass. Australian dollars 29.4 for a 7-day pass. Cash value Mikey currency Australian dollar 2.94 to 4.3 for a 2-hour fare. Price per day 5.88 to 8.6 Australian dollars. Perth, asking the bus driver if they qualify for a 10 or 20% discount is required of passengers using Smart Rider cards. Seniors, students, pensioners and travelers who are blind are also eligible for discounts. Little ones under 4 travel for free. Using Smart Rider cards, adult single fare ranges from 1.76 to 11.52 Australian dollars. Cost in cash, day rider and family rider tickets cost 2.2 to 12.8 Australian dollars for an adult single. Concession cards users on Australia's public transportation can significantly reduce transportation cost. In these big cities, more public transportation options are available. Suburban train lines are open in Perth, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane and Adelaide. Sydney also runs ferries and a light rail system. There are intra-city trains in Melbourne and Adelaide. Brisbane has a ferry system just like Sydney does. In all major towns and cities, cab services are also available. For domestic travel within Australia, 4 leading airlines in operation: Jetstar, Qantas, Virgin Australia and Tiger Air. By distance and season, prices change. Health insurance in Australia. Even if you are an international student temporarily residing in Australia, it is one of the countries where you are required to carry health insurance. You must comprehend and get this health insurance plan, known as the Overseas Student Health Insurance Cover (OSHC). Why OSHC? While in Australia, this insurance assists in covering the cost of medical care, hospital care, medications and ambulance services. You must obtain an OSHC if you are a student or applying for a student visa. What is covered by OSHC and how do I get it? You have 2 payment options for your OSHC plan: through your university or directly online. You can choose your OSHC provider with the help of the Department of Health and Aging's website. These advantages may differ based on your insurer. You might only have basic coverage or receive more comprehensive coverage and services for a higher price. Some of your safety net components must include benefits for outpatient services are specified in the Medical Benefit Schedule (MBS) charge. This is relevant if you visit a general practitioner or medical office. Any inpatient services such as surgery or prolonged medical care will be charged the total MBS rate. Private and some public hospitals have shared wards. Only the private hospitals associated with your OSHC provider insurance. Accommodations and treatments for day surgeries or outpatients, artificial limbs at least a certain percent. $50 for each prescription drug, up to $300 for an individual every year. Plans for more than this are available, so grab them. Consider them if you have prescriptions you regularly take for one reason or another. There are further services that your OSHC might also pay for. Physical therapy, general optical care and general dental care may all be covered under specific plans. Although some businesses may charge extra for what is known as generic treatment cover. For more information on the expenses of including these therapies in your plan, speak with your OSHC provider. Additionally, there may be a waiting period for some medicines that are paid off. Pre-existing problems, whether physical, mental, for which there may be a 2-month waiting period, or pregnancy related, typically come under this category. Initially indicated on your student visa will mark the start of the waiting period. You are only qualified for OSHC benefit for 5 years unless otherwise specified by the program or university you are enrolled in. The institution must help you with the procedure of getting an extension on your OSHC plan if the course of study you are in. For instance, you are studying for both your master's and your PhD at a specific Australian university. Needs you to stay in the nation for longer than 5 years. Visit the websites of the Departments of Immigration and Citizenship and Health and Aging for additional information about OSHC and how to secure health insurance for you and your family while you are studying in Australia. If you'd like to speak with them directly, your university's Office for International Students should be able to provide you with the details you require regarding OSHC. Cost of living in Australia in comparison to India and other countries. The cost of living in Australia is pretty expensive compared to India due to the differences in the currency's value. 1 Australian dollar is equal to 55.66 Indian rupees. Compared to other countries like the USA, Australia's cost of living is lower because 1 Australian dollar is equal to 0.70 US dollars. It is difficult for Indian students to manage expenses in countries like Australia. Thus, it is essential to avoid unnecessary cost and to focus on education. Many international students in Australia and other countries do part-time jobs to get the extra money for personal expenses. Getting a part-time job in Australia is easy and generates good pay. So that's it for today. If you want more informative or interesting videos like this, consider subscribing Gururo.